Hello everyone. My name is Emily. Welcome back to the channel. I am so glad you clicked on today's video. So for those of you who don't know, I own my own tutoring company. I work with kiddos from kindergarten to my oldest right now is in 9th grade. I help with anything that is needed. This last week we did AP Human Geography. That was fun. But primarily my subjects that I help with are reading, writing, and math. And primarily reading or math. Those are the two that I specialize in. And so today, being middle grade March, I wanted to kind of let you guys in on some of the tips and tricks that I do as a tutor and as someone who has worked with kids for the majority of her adult life on how to get your kids to read more. I get asked this question a lot by teachers, by parents, by kids themselves. Miss Emily, how do I read more? What can I do? Things like that. And especially I get this question from mamas who their kiddo struggles. I struggle all growing up with reading. So not only have I done all these 3 tips myself as a reader, I have worked with kids and used these 3 tips many times with pretty good success. So I do want to say that there is not a one size fits all for kids, for learning, for any of us. These tips are not supposed to be a Band-Aid fix or something that can be like, oh, bam, it's fixed type of thing. Reading with kids needs work and you have to put in the time and the effort. But these are good starting points to build upon. And not every kid is the same. Sometimes this will work with one kid and not with another. And you just have to kind of mix and match to help your particular student learn the best that they can. So I'm kind of bridging my 2 worlds here, so hopefully you guys enjoy. So my first tip is make the books easier. And what I mean by that is if we know that there is nothing like diagnosably wrong, or that like their eyes track properly, or there's no dyslexia, things like that, and you get to 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th grade, and your student is just like, I don't like reading. I'm not going to do it. Make the book easier. When I was in 5th grade, I struggled pretty hardcore with reading. So my mom, being the amazing mother that she is, she just started throwing any sort of book at me. The one that fit was Junie B. Jones. Junie B. Jones is not a 5th grade reading level, 5th grade main character. She is from she's a kindergartner. But that was the first time that I felt empowered in my reading. And I have used this in my professional career with kids. I have made reading fun by making it easier for them, making the books less thick, having pictures on the page to help their imagination start. Because once their imagination starts and they start making that picture in their head, immediately their enjoyment and their reading levels increase. So make the book easier, make it more fun, make it a more enjoyable experience that way. My second tip, might be a little bit controversial for lack of a better term. I am firmly in the camp of audiobook listening is reading. I know that there are some people out there who are like, absolutely not, that is not reading, and we can still be friends. That is totally fine. But I believe that if you are listening to an audiobook, you are reading. So, but I understand why parents are a little bit hesitant to have their child who needs to learn how to read just listen to the audiobook. So I understand where they're coming from. My suggestion would be to tandem read. Now, that is listening to the audiobook and reading it, having the book in front of them, and having the child track it as they're listening to it. Not only will this help increase speed, their fluency, but it will also help with vocabulary and pronunciation and different things like that. And again, going back to the enjoyment, they'll be able to finish a book and say, I just finished this really big book. And they totally did. And they find it more enjoyable because they're understanding it and they're picturing it in their head. So I am a firm believer that tandem reading changes reading lives. So there's that. My third one is one of my favorites that I use with the majority of my kiddos, whether I'm working with them on reading or math or AP stuff. It is making goals and making prizes. So, for example, I work with a kindergartner. He is learning how to read, and he gets books sent home from school that we read together every single day. To get him to enjoy reading, his parents have made it that there is a correlation. If you read for 20 minutes, you get your tech time for 30 minutes or whatever it is. 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes. You cannot believe the amount of growth this little kindergartner has done with his reading. Because if he reads, he gets to play Zelda. And he loves playing Zelda with all of his other siblings. So this boy will sit down and read with me for 20 or 30 minutes. And by sit, I mean crawling over and under, and I have to chase him with the book, but he's doing it. And I don't care if he's a wiggly little worm. If he's reading it and if he's sounding out the words on the page, wiggle all you want, I do not care. And he's up and over and under and around and it's hilarious. But he's reading, so that's all that matters. This little boy has grown massively in his reading because there is that prize at the end of something that he loves. So to make this work for your kiddo, if they like special mom-dad time, just them, no other siblings around, read 20 minutes Monday through Friday, and on Saturday you get to go on a daddy-daughter date or whatever, You can even have a treasure box. I did this when I was in the classroom with fourth and fifth graders. If they were consistent in their reading all week and they showed me on Friday that they read every single day and had their parent signature or whatever, they were able to pull from my treasure box. And they wanted to do the treasure box because you got cool things. Like I had Pokemon cards and pens and lip gloss and other books in there for my readers who devoured books. And so you could make a treasure box, or you can go to the dollar store and have them pick out, a new toy. The possibilities are endless, but making it so that reading equates to something fun, then the reading happens and the reading improves. So those are my 3 tips. I also wanted to share with you 2 different curriculums that I use with so many of my kiddos. I work with a couple homeschooling families. I teach with the mom. She does a couple days. I do a couple of days. And so I've used these. I've seen the growth made from these curriculum. And like I said, said previously in the video, one size does not fit all. So these are just 2 options that you might not be familiar with. And I would love to hear, if you guys are homeschooling families, leave what you like in the comments for your curriculum so that this can become sort of a base and a hub for maybe new families who want to investigate homeschooling, or they're not quite sure how to help their child specifically in reading increase. Anyway, so the first one is called The Good and the Beautiful. I love this curriculum. I use it from first grade all the way up to middle schoolers. I love it. They break things down very easily. So even someone who isn't a teacher like I am, who has a teaching background, moms can just kind of sit down, open it up, read it, and the kids enjoy it. There are games, there's reading curriculums and math curriculums and science and social studies. I mean, they have everything. and they're so much fun. They're so digestible, and I love the spiral that they do at the end. So that is an education term where you just kind of review what you've done previously. They do a really good spiral at the end of each lesson. I love that. I am encouraging family members who are interested in homeschooling to look at that as sort of a base and then go from there. The second one is called Logic of English. This program is specifically for kiddos who have dyslexia, but anyone can use it. It is a great program for any kiddo who is struggling with reading. And I use this with two kiddos, one specifically a 4th grade boy who has struggled. He has been diagnosed with dyslexia, but that hasn't stopped him. He's like, no, I'm going to figure this out. We're going to take care of it. And I love Logic of English because it is a curriculum that can be used in a school, but there is an online course that you can, what this particular little boy does, he just sits in front of the laptop and he goes through it by himself. Mom is there in the background, but it's a lot of self-paced for the student. Now, disclaimer, I am not a fan of sticking your child in front of a screen and having the screen teach them. I don't think that is the best option long term, but every now and again, as a supplementary thing, absolutely. There's my disclaimer on that. But this is really good because it teaches the sounds and it teaches like sort of the background of the sound, but then there are games that help the students learn how to put those sounds together, and how an A, for example, has like freaking 15 different sounds, and every word you see it in, it's something different. And so no wonder all these kiddos have such a struggle with reading. Anyway, I love it. It is, both of these are relatively inexpensive for what they are. And I love that this Logic of English is online. And then after they do the lesson, that's when I come in and I read with him from a chapter book. And it has been so cool to see how, because I started working with him over the summer, so maybe 8 months ago, something like that. Night and day difference, you guys. Massive growth. His fluency has increased. He's sounding out. He's just not guessing random letters and sounds. He's sounding things out. He's really, really trying hard. And I blame Logic of English. I love it. It's wonderful. So I've actually started having other parents look into it and say, might this work for my students? They've tried it. They've loved it. The kids seem to like it, which is always a good thing to help kids be invested. Anyway, like I said, not a one size fits all, but these are some options that might be interesting to you guys as homeschooling families, as parents with kids who just struggle with reading. It happens. The majority of us find tips and tricks, but these are ways that can help kids feel less frustrated with reading, because reading is beautiful and reading is wonderful, and it's hard to read sometimes, but hopefully these tips and this curriculum can help someone not feel so frustrated with their reading. Anyway, please let's talk below. I would love to see what you guys think on reading, or what has helped you with your reading, books that you like, different curriculum, things like that. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.